Hello, dear friends. Here we are in our 30 days of good news with the Master. And what a joy it is. I know it's midnight where we are now, but you know the reason why we're doing this at midnight? Because it's when a new day begins. The dawn is always that symbol to the new day, to the new beginning. And when we walk with Jesus in His good news, with the good news of the Christ, we are always renewing ourselves. Hello, Angelita! And today we are here, chapter 10 of the book Good News, Boa Nova. It's yet to be published in English, but here we are. Here we are learning. We can't wait. 30 days of good news. And as we said at the first moment, good news means joy, as Jesus said. Who has heard of good news without, actually feeling joy? So here we are, prepared for the good news. Are you? Hello, Jussara. Hello, Raquel. So friends, thank you, Raquel, for your kindness too. So friends, today chapter 10 is titled Forgiveness. Woohoo! Forgiveness it is. So let's see. Humberto de Campos, the spirit author of the book, begins this chapter by describing the following. The first pilgrimage of Christ and his disciples around the lake had achieved unforgettable triumphs. There were troubled, ill people who were thankful for the relief they anxiously sought for, humble workers who became fulfilled by the holy consolations before the divine promises of the good news. Aha, hello Solange, hello Elder. Are you Santa, Elder? I just saw it on Facebook. I'm mentioning the names of all of you because so we feel we are all together learning with the Master, not me, Master Jesus. Hello, Adilson. So, let's stop for a moment. Who was receiving the consolation? People who were ill, humble workers, people who needed hope, consolations like the works done by the Caravan of Love, by the works done by Spiritist centers in general, by churches, by anybody who not necessarily needs to be affiliated with a religion. What is important for us is to know that Jesus didn't go preach, 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 preach. He would talk one-on-one. Do you remember, I don't know, maybe I mentioned that in Poland, Stephen, but I'm going to recap here since we're talking about the accomplishments of Jesus' pilgrimages. So there was a true case of a Spiritist speaker who came from Brazil, and he gave a talk at our Spiritist group in Virginia when it was a group. And we had an Arab woman who became acquainted with Spiritism, was studying with us. She got to know she had cancer. And she said, Vanessa, can I talk to the speaker later on? Because he seems to be so fantastic. I think he must have an advice for me regarding some questions I have. I said, I don't think he's going to mind it. So at the end of the talk, I asked, can you please talk to this person? And he did. But when we got home, he told me, never, ever, ever do this again. I'm here to give talks. I'm not here to talk to people about their problems. I'm not a psychologist. I was like astonished. Really? I've never heard of that either. Because Jesus didn't speak and then left. He was going to talk to each and every person who needed and apply the laying on of hands. So it's great to share the knowledge, but it doesn't suffice. I'm not talking about Spiritist meetings. I'm talking about our daily lives. daily lives. We need to walk the extra mile, right? Yes. Hello, Cesa. Hello, Gustavo and Rudy. Thank you so much for sharing with us your wisdom as well, your knowledge. You know, Jesus is really wise, really knowledgeable, really loving. Hello, Monica. Thank you, Gustavo. Okay, drive safe. So, friends, but what happens next? He says the triumphs, but he says, however, those activities started to call the attention of the stringent Jews who saw Jesus as a dangerous revolutionary man. The love being preached by the prophet of Nazareth was infringing old principles of the Jewish law. And that's exactly how it is. That rigidity inside of us when we see people easily being emotional, being with feelings, we're like, we step back and like, this must be wrong. This is not right. And sometimes we play the parts of the Pharisees. Let me see what it is. Let me double check. And then we start bad mouthing to other people, saying, oh, did you see what they're doing? Because it's succeeding. It's conquering many hearts, and we are afraid. And we have to pay attention to this chapter. The Lord of the land carefully observed the lectures given to the slaves, who showed immense joy from the hope of having a new kingdom, which actually they could not understand. The most selfish people pretend to see the generous prophet as a common conspirator who wished to intensify the popular rage against the domination of Herod. Others assumed him to be an unusual wizard who should be avoided. In psychology, we learn that we see, most often than not, what is inside of us. And when we can't accomplish those things, sometimes we go and become envious of others. Right? So we need to be careful. That is how the Master's trip to Nazareth resulted in an excursion of great challenges. That's actually one of the first times that our dear Humberto de Campos reports to us the great challenges that Jesus was encountering in this journey of the sacred, let's say it this way, pilgrimages. Great challenges which led to the bitter observations found in the gospel regarding the homeland of those who should have kept him in the sanctuary of their hearts. There were more than a few opponents to his ideas of renewal who arrived in the tiny village before him. Isn't that amazing? And 2,000 years went by, more than that, right? And I often ask myself, we're still the same. There, in that regard, morally speaking, not that we're the same, but we're still like struggling to turn the page, become anew, transform like the caterpillar in the cocoon and then the butterfly. We still struggle, and that's exactly what was happening here. There were more than a few opponents. They were seeking to neutralize Jesus' actions through false news and to demoralize him by feeding people with false information concocted by some Nazarenes. Stop, because when Mentor Joseph asked us to do this also as part of the preparation for this outcome of the 2016 elections, not because of the elections, but because of how people felt after the elections. We can't allow people to go down with their vibrations thinking pessimistically. We need to raise it up. So nobody's better to guide us back to this calibration of the soul, then the Master. Stop. First therapeutic moment for us. How often do we use this opportunity of our mistakes, of our difficulties, or our struggles to have the Master as a way to tune up ourselves, our feelings, our emotions? How often do you do it? The other day, Mentor Joseph said, I was struggling with some things, and he said, before you take any action, talk to Jesus. And he means open your heart, meditate on his lessons, share what you're feeling, and observe. So before we take any action, especially when we're making important decisions, we need to think and talk to Jesus. Here we're talking about the Master going through these challenges. People who were spreading false news. Friends, have you heard about this current election and people creating fake news and the tragic consequences? And this is not a new thing. It's a human dynamic. When you want to put somebody down, you create fake news. They did the same to Jesus. And Jesus said, if they did this to me, they're going to do this to you too. If and only if we're in the right path. When everybody's applauding us, everybody, I mean, most of the people, it means that we're not on the right track. Not on the earth. When on the earth, Jesus said it all. If you want to know if you're really, 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 really walking the talk, you're going to suffer persecutions. You're going to suffer slanders, etc., etc. Fake news to demoralize us, blah, 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 blah. What do? Nothing. Continue praying, continue working, and continue thinking about serving God. Sooner or later, everything's going to change. Jesus sensed how delicate the situation was from the first attack by the enemies of his doctrine. However, he took advantage of all opportunities to provide the best lessons through his teachings. Yet, the same did not happen to his disciples. He was secure. Remember about emotional contagion? He didn't contaminate himself. Oh my gosh, people are doing this, that, and the other. What do I do? He kept himself composed, but his disciples were targeted. Philip and Simon Peter became involved in serious interrogations with some gentlemen from the region. They exchanged harsh words regarding the fundamental teachings of the Messiah. In reaction to the ironic laughs and the less dignified comments, they passionately defended the teachings. There were those who saw the Lord as an active servant of the evil spirit, an enemy of Moses, a follower of unknown princes, or a traitor to the political power of Antipas. It's even hard to read these words because we know it's so untrue. The debates in Nazareth were so heated, let's observe this word, debates, that their harmful effects were strongly felt throughout the disciples' community. Peter and Andrew defended the cause of the Master with incisiveness and sincerity. James became upset. You see, emotional contagion? The cause became upset with his companion's analysis. Levi protested. Well, Jesus understood the circumstances and calmly ordered the withdrawal from Nazareth, leaving the town with a tranquil smile. Pause. I think here we have a unique lesson for us, or many, right? Or many. Hello, Osvaldo. Let's take a break here as we think together. Hello, Fátima, Julija, Carolina. So what is the lesson here from the Master? He's seeing that people are resisting. He is not a master of imposition. He said to Bartholomew, the truth does not demand, it transforms. He saw people were not open. What is he gonna do? Hello, friends, I am the governor of the planet. How come? Don't you know I'm the Messiah? Blah, blah, blah. No, what did he do? He retreated. He retreated. Why? Was he afraid? Was it an act of cowardice? And you're right, Elton. History repeats itself. Why? Because human nature is so alike everywhere, independent of the time. This is our human nature. That's how we are. But he understood the circumstances first. He understood. And he didn't fight against it. He didn't go there, no, I'm going to enforce. I'm going to make them accept. They have to understand. They must understand. How often in our lives, people don't understand us. And we keep pushing. And we keep pushing. And we keep pushing. It doesn't make any sense. Leave them alone. They don't accept. We understand. And Jesus is teaching us. Calmly, he ordered the withdrawal. He didn't create a revolution saying, did you see? They're persecuting us. Look at them. They are this, that, and the other. He said, let's go away. Let's retreat. Calmly. People don't understand. That's okay. They are not open for us. That's okay. Is it too much of a proposal from Jesus to us tonight? Or this morning? Is it? To ask us to do this exercise? Think right now of people whom we would love to get along, be on the same page, but it's not possible. They don't see us yet. They see a reflection of their own difficulties, a projection, as we call in psychology. And Joanna de Angelis talked about the shadow, like Carl Gustav Jung, the shadow inside of us that old men project onto others. So those who are looking at Jesus like revolutionary, womanizer, this and the other, they were simply projecting what was inside of them. It wasn't Jesus. He understood and he said, let's go. It's not going to work. People are not ready. We're not here to fight. And you and I are not here to fight. Let it be. Right? You're right, Elton. Responsibility is the ability to respond and not act. And this is emotional intelligence. We need to practice. And we often say, according to science, the first way to manage emotions is breathing deeply and slowly and avoid resisting. Let it be. Notwithstanding their determination, despite the retreat to Capernaum, the majority of the apostles continued debating because they could not understand why the Master had not done anything to react against the poisonous insinuations that had been brought against him. Are you surprised too? Jesus didn't do anything? That's a lesson for us. We often think that we have to go and make people understand and force. Stay calm. But you see, the disciples are debating. Again, the second time I'm pointing out to all of us, let's pay attention to this word, debating, debating, debating. And we are living in a time in which people love debating. Debating, debating. Not only politically, for anything. Even in the spiritist circles. Did you see what this person is doing? Blah, 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 What for? What are we going to gain by doing it? But let Jesus work it out for us, okay? Let's observe this. Some days later, you see, Jesus is never like, boom, impulsive, never. Some days later, he let the disciples debate, waste their time, Some days later, following the circumstances of the situation, is when he's going to clarify things. Peter and Philip looked for the Lord, eager for the clarity of his teachings. But let's remember, it only allows this to happen later. Jesus could have called them and said, don't do this, don't waste your time. He didn't do anything. Remember the concept of justice in the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec. Law of love, charity, and justice, or justice, love, and charity, whatever sequence. For now, we're not focusing on that. What we're focusing is on the Spiritist take on justice. Everything is redefined by Spiritism. Justice is when we respect the rights of everyone. Respect means what? Leave it alone. If you know somebody who wants to write a book that talks about nonsense, do not make an effort to prohibit this book to anybody. Go write a book that is about good things. That's what Jesus did. He didn't stop and say, hey, you are writing a bad book. That's not how you write it. He respected it. He didn't talk bad. He didn't judge. He didn't do anything. He wrote the book he thought was more appropriate. Therapeutic moment for us. Where are we in regards to being just? 0 to 10. 0 to 10, it's blinking. 0 to 10, 0, scale. Inner journey. Self-knowledge, which is so important. Where do we think we are? Are we just? 0 being not at all. 10 being, oh yeah. We need to bring some sense of humor here because it's not easy to talk about this. And you know, some people tell me, Vanessa, as soon as I get to know the Spirit, I feel so guilty. But you know, you shouldn't, because Jesus didn't come to make us feel guilty. He brought us good news. The good news that today you're not there yet, but tomorrow you will. That's the best news ever. You can look at yourself in the mirror today and see yourself more whole tomorrow. No doubt about it. Sooner or later, we'll be at another level. It's wonderful. Oh, but I made a mistake. Who doesn't? Right? It's beautiful, right, Raquel? It's beautiful because Jesus brought us good news. Good news that we're children of God, that we are never gonna regress, that we are always gonna progress, and we are made of love, supposed to love, and be loving, etc. That's the ultimate goal in life. Why resist the power of love inside of us? Right? It is, Osvaldo. So, Peter, says Humberto de Campos, with naive honesty, he said, Master, they called you a servant of Satan, and we promptly responded. He's so cute, Peter, right? So cute. Yes, mistakes are opportunities to learn. Peter is like, and then Philip says, we observed that you never opposed the challenges. For that reason, we fought against the attacks with the strongest arguments possible. They are cute because sometimes we are just like that. People talk about our ideals and we're like, no, 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 I'm going to tell them, family members, neighbors, and others. And then we're like so feeling like we have to defend, create arguments. But let's hear from the Master. He knows, he knows. Notwithstanding the heated tone of those statements, Jesus meditated, observed the body language, meditated with a sweet placidity in his profound gaze, while the followers contemplated him anxiously looking forward to hear his word of sincerity and love. Pause. Jesus heard those heated statements. He didn't reply right away. He meditated with calmness while looking at them deeply. So he was not far away. He was there, but he was in control of himself. Wonderful. People come to you and say, did you know what people told you about you? What they want to do to you? What they think you are? And you're like, oh, really? Oh my gosh, no way. He was like, think about, let's picture. Jesus meditated with sweet placidity in his profound gaze. Finally emerging from his silent reflections. That's what he was doing. Silent reflections. The Master asked. Now he's going to ask us when we feel we have to defend a cause, to defend ourselves, to defend somebody. Would we be able to pick up grapes in the bramble? Would we be able to pick up grapes in the bramble? I would not in any way engage in a sterile argument with my opponents in Nazareth. However, I made sure to teach that the best example is always the one from our own work, the one from our most useful effort possible. In this case, I did not stop operating in my sphere of action so that we were able to get results from our trip to the nearby town, making it beneficial by using constructive words at the opportune moment. Stop for a moment and let's reflect on this. Made sure that to teach that the best example is always the one from our own work, from our most useful effort possible. We're not going to knock on people's doors and say, come on, please trust me. Please, don't you see who I am? We need to keep working and doing what we have to do. As Mother Teresa said, it's between God and us. He then asks, what would be the use of long public debates? I told you, debates. What would be the use of long public debates filled with mockery and sarcasm? At the end, we would have only lesser chances for the triumph of glorious love. We would only have lesser chances for the triumph of glorious love and stronger motives for division and hateful opposition. We should only say that which the heart can testify through sincere actions. Otherwise, the statements would be simply noise in an empty box. Ah, Cesa, you're so funny. Yeah, we're still impulsive on the earth, but we're going to get there. And Jesus now is a model for us. You see, if we visualize it like the disciples, Peter and Andrew, heated in their emotions, and Jesus is like silent, reflecting. He's listening and he's pondering before taking an action. But he doesn't spare words. He's very precise. He's saying here to us, clearly, no debates, no argumentations, no, 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 no. Some people want to preach that we have to sit together and discuss ideas sincerely. We don't discuss ideas for ideas. We discuss ideas for action. And Jesus here is saying, we cannot take the opportunity of a debate if at the end of the day it's going to create more division in a family, in our neighborhood, in a spiritual center, in a church, anywhere. It's not worthwhile. And you're right, Elton. We can't use our social network or the social media for these debates. I remember recently somebody was writing in their Facebook, today I woke up feeling like getting into debate. Come on, my friends, who is going to start it with me? Why do we need to do that? Master, said Philip with some bitterness, the truth is that most of the people who were present in the preaching of Nazareth spoke evil of you. They spoke evil of you. You helped them, you were talking to them, and now they're talking bad about you. But who else? Who else is going to be talking bad about us but those who know us? It doesn't surprise us. Hello, Felipe. Yeah, the problem is, right, Elton? Are we creating a noise? Noise, would be simply noise in an empty box. Exactly. And then Jesus asked with energy and serenity, love, 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 love. I don't think you had enough of this beautiful analysis of the emotional body language, because here we have another one, Humberto de Campos, grants us the opportunity to know more about the complete Jesus. He not only talked, but he already sent a message, vibratorily, body language. He asked with energy and serenity. Energy, serenity. Can we put both together? Very hard. But here we have Jesus. At this level, like energy and serenity. But wouldn't it not be vanity to expect that everyone thinks highly of us? Wouldn't it not be vanity to expect that everyone thinks highly of us? Vanity. So when people don't agree with us, we're upset. That's called vanity. You want to do the exercise? I can feel it. You're asking, Vanessa, you're going to ask? Yes, we will. Let's all meditate on this. Scale 0 to 10, self-knowledge. If we don't feel the scriptures, there's no purpose. We need to do this inner evaluation. Scale 0 to 10. 0 being nothing and 10 being a lot. Where are you in terms of vanity? Vanity. 0 to 10. Wouldn't it be vanity to expect that everyone thinks highly of Jesus? In the illusions that individuals on earth have created for their own lives, it is important that we always conduct ourselves in such a manner that they will speak well of us without distinction. To please everyone is like marching through the wide streets where lies are the convention. Stop. To please everyone is like marching through the wide streets where lies are the convention. Meaning, if you want to please everyone, you're not going to be able to tell the truth. Then you become a liar. I mean, not you, could be me. We're just saying us, okay? To serve God is the task that should be above everything. So let's say you have the power of authority in your company. Okay? Let's say that. And you have to implement a new action. Not everybody's gonna like it. And what do? You start telling lies so people are gonna be okay? Or you face it and say, I'm so sorry, but we need to implement it. Right? Thank you, João Bosco. Thank you. But to serve God is the task that should be above everything. To serve God is the task. So Humberto de Campos is reporting to us that Jesus said that to serve God is a task. To serve God as a task. Task. Every day. How much do we serve God every day, consciously speaking? How much? Every day. Once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, maybe once a week, once a month, once a year. I mean, serving God consciously. But that's a task. So let us put in our to-do list. First, number 1, tomorrow I'm going to serve God. And then everything else. But the number 1, serve God. To serve God. Sometimes during that divine service, it is natural for us to displease petty human interests. Philip, do you know any emissary of God who was well appreciated during his time? Do you know any emissary of God who was well appreciated during his time? All bearers of the truth of heaven are misunderstood by their contemporaries. Therefore, it is essential to consider that the just concept is respectable. But above all, we need to obtain legitimate approval from our conscience through our loyalty to God. So we constantly need to do that exercise of question 621 of the Spirit's book. The laws of God are inscribed in our conscience, and we need to constantly, Jesus is saying, asking our conscience if we're approved, since we're loyal, faithful to God. So next time we make a decision or we do anything, let's think about that. Conscience, are you approving of it? Because I'm loyal to God's plan. But then Simon Peter's still asking questions. He's like, Master, shouldn't we use resolute, equitable words in the most important events of life? No, I know some people are going to say, no, but we have to explain, but we need to defend. Well, naturally, that which is necessary should be stated in every circumstance. However, it's also essential to waste no time. It's also essential to waste no time. Can we do another quiz? Yes, can we? Let's do another quiz. Because this chapter is really, really filled with therapeutic moments. How much are we wasting time in a daily basis? With debates, with judgment, instead of actually fulfilling it in a useful manner. 0 to 10, wasting a lot of time or not much at all. Let's meditate. It's essential to waste no time. Clearly showing that the explanation did not satisfy him fully, Philip said to the master, Master, your clarifications are indisputable. However, I need to add that some of the companions were unbearable during the trip to Nazareth. Some accuse me of being a bully and disruptive. Others accuse me of not understanding your teachings. If our own brothers in our communities show such flaws, what will be the future of the gospel? The Master reflected for a moment and replied, "These are questions that every disciple must ask." But so that I may clarify, Philip, regarding the community, I must ask, have you already built the kingdom of God in the depths of your spirit? You see, when we're judging others, saying, I can't believe that person is a spiritist and they're doing this, and Jesus is telling us, have you already built the kingdom of God in your spirit? Wonderful, Gustavo, to hear from you. Know you're safe and here with us. The apostle hesitantly answered, "It is true that I have not built the kingdom of God." Within this reality, you can observe that if our school were constituted of perfect brothers, it would no longer be open to criticism, even when a friend who had not yet gained the divine knowledge joined us. Now we understand why Jesus also chose people like us to be in his discipleship. Because he's saying it right now. If he brought people who are angelic, how could we ever think we could come that close? Right? Very interesting. He's an educator. He was not selecting the disciples only for that time. He was selecting the disciples as an educational movement for immortality in our lives for immortality. It is indispensable, he says, because they started meditating. It's indispensable to never lose sight of our own work. So we are concerned about the work of others. What about your own work? Some people think that because they are in a place of authority, they become policemen, policewomen in the lives of others. Parents regarding children, teachers regarding students, etc., etc. But we're learning with Jesus, we need to focus on our work and not the work of others. To know how to forgive with true spontaneity of the heart, it is indispensable to never lose sight of our own work, to know how to forgive with true spontaneity of the heart. If a colleague seems unbearable during the labors of life, it is possible that sometimes we are considered as such. How? Jesus is saying, aren't you ever? Are you perfect enough to point the finger to that person? We must forgive our opponents. Do you have opponents? So Jesus is inviting us today to forgive them. We need to work for the good of our enemies, to help the ones who mock our faith. Can you believe this? We must forgive our opponents, and we need to work for the good of our enemies, to help the ones who mock our faith. At that point of the explanation, Peter asked, but in order to forgive, shouldn't we wait for the enemy's repentance? And what should we do if the malefactor has the attitude of a wolf in sheep's clothing? And Peter answers the following from the Master. Peter, forgiveness does not exclude the need for vigilance, as love does not dispense with the truth. Peace is an asset that every heart is obligated to defend in order to work well in the divine service that was entrusted by God. Peace is an asset that every heart is obligated to defend. Peace. If our brother repents and seeks our fraternal assistance, we must support him with all the energy that we can spend. However, in no circumstance no circumstance should you ponder if your brother has truly repented or not. Forget the evil and work for the good. We could stop here today because this chapter really came to the main conclusion. If we are asking, like, how do I forgive? He's saying, forget the evil and work for the good. But Jesus, how can we forget the evil? He's just saying, put it aside. And when you least expect, you're not going to see it. But if we're constantly rewinding the tape and say, this person did this person did that, da da da, we are never going to forget it. We're going to keep reinforcing those memories. And work for the good. It's a twofold action. I need to forget the evil and work for the good. When I taught that every man should quickly reconcile with his adversary, I emphasized that no one can go to God with a sense of hatefulness in the heart. We would not be able to know if our opponent is willing to reconcile. However, we can guarantee that nothing will be done without our willingness to forget entirely the evils that we suffered. So, we forget at all times we need to, we must forget the evil that was done. Did we hear that? Did we? Let's repeat. At all times, we must forget the evil that was done. It's homework for us. Forget it. Substitute by a new memory. Create new memories. That was when Simon Peter asked his famous question, Lord, how often shall I forgive my brother who sins against me? Wouldn't it be 7 times? Jesus calmly replied, I do not say to you 7 times, but 70 times 7. Meaning, always, always, always. Always? At all times, we need to forget the evil that was done. We need to forget the evil that was done. How? By applying another memory. Therefore, the Master also took advantage of the slighted opportunities to teach the need for mutual forgiveness between individuals in the sublime work of redemption. He's telling to you and I, those who are on the same page religiously, philosophically, and Jesus is saying to us, forgive always. Mutual forgiveness, which is based in understanding. Whether accused of being a wizard, a servant of Satan, a conspirator, Jesus always demonstrated great goodwill towards the lowest spirits of his time. Without disdaining the good word at the opportune moment, he worked every moment for the victory of love with the highest practical idealism. On the unforgettable day of the Calvary, you know what he said, right? He revealed to humanity the importance of immediate reconciliation between the spirit and the harmony of life. For such reason, he said these last words, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. We need to ask ourselves, how are we doing in regards of forgiveness? Reconcile immediately. Don't worry what others will think. This chapter is a lesson for us, friends. It's a lesson to action. These are not to be kept here. We really need to walk the talk. Walk the talk. Do you have anybody whom you should immediately reconcile? Do you know anyone? Anyone? Okay, so reconcile now while you're still here and together. How can you do it? Pray first. Count on your guardian angel and trust that you're never alone. Right, Elton? Just do it. How? Call and say, there's no purpose for us to be like this. Come on. That's past. And we need to teach our children. When they come home and say, that person pushed me, that person pushed me, and then the other day I asked Virginia, how many times did this person pushed you? Once, but now you're talking about it for the 10th time. But I'm like this. I think probably she's learning from me. No, I'm joking. No, because I'm already perfect. But whether or not we're picking up, we need to learn from childhood. They come and say, yeah, they did this. Okay, but it's past. Done. Another day, another chapter. As Haroldo Druta Dias, a scholar and speaker in Brazil, in Spiritism, he says, if you take the picture of the person when they offended you, and you expect that when you meet them, they're going to match it, maybe you're going to be surprised they don't match. So don't take picture of offenses. Let's not take those pictures and move on. And he says, the importance of immediate reconciliation. Tonight, we are given the opportunity. Let's begin tonight. Choose one person, one at a time. And if you want to do it first in your mind, in spirit, before you take physical action, do the following. Divaldo Franco has a CD named Therapeutic Visualizations, Health. Track 2, The Divine Light Heals. The first thing that is recommended in the visualization is reconciliation with the enemy. Reconcile first. Ready? You can take advantage of the intelligent sleep before you go to bed. Ask your guardian angel to take you to the spiritual realm. And with the guardian angel of the person, you can meet there, reconcile, so when you wake up, you can more easily take the steps in the material life towards that reconciliation. Right? And you're right, Alto, it begins with us. And he's also, Adilson is recommending a documentary, Forgiving Dr. Mengele, a true inspirational movement. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right? Ready for this importance of immediate reconciliation? We're going to feel lighter, more joyful. After all, it's always better to have friends than enemies. Hopefully, we have no enemies. But if we do, it doesn't matter. Let's go and reconcile, because it's so good to be in harmony with everyone. Not that we'll be alike, but we'll appreciate the differences, be just, exercise the sense of justice, allowing people to be who they are, and allowing ourselves to be who we are, progressing always. Tonight, or this morning, this afternoon, depends when you're going to watch this, and we're going to be talking about forgiveness. We're going to dedicate to this beautiful action of the inner reconciliation with the self, as Andrei Moreira wrote a book about, with the other, and God. Threefold. Let us reconcile and live better. For now, I'll let you go. I'll let you go to enjoy your beautiful continuity of life while we prepare for tomorrow. Can you believe it? Day 11 is going to be about the Sermon of the Mount. We can only climb the ecstasies of the Beatitudes after we have walked in the valley of forgiveness, reconciliation. Big kiss to all of you. Thank you, Elton. Thank you, all of you, my friends. Thank you for being together in this beautiful journey. 30 days of good news, wonderful news with the Master. Thank you, Raquel. A big friendly hug. Thank you, Solange. Friendly hug. It feels good. Let us reconcile and live better and lighter. Till tomorrow.